Welcome to episode 1 of Riff and Chips. I'm your host Phil Vernon, and the honour of being my first ever guest goes to my old pal Liam Knowles, bassist and vocalist of the incredible Hidden Mothers. Hidden Mothers burst onto the scene in 2019 with their beautiful but punishing single, The Longest Journey Yet. The following year, they released their self-titled EP through Surviving Sounds to rave reviews, and have since become stalwarts of the UK live scene. This culminated in a slot on last year's Arctangent Festival, where despite their early morning set time, they packed out the tent for one of the sets of the weekend. Following a lineup change, the band have recently completed their first tour as a four-piece with my own band Cops, and also announced that their long-awaited, as yet untitled debut album will be released by the mighty Church Road Records later this year. Join us as we discuss the power of supporting your local venues, Corby being known as Little Scotland, and how there's a high disappointment potential when it comes to a battered sausage. Liam, welcome to Riff and Chips.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We had a lovely long weekend on tour together a couple of weeks back. Have you been keeping since then? Have the post-tour blues got a hold of you yet?
It's honestly really, really rubbish to do like that many shows in a row, because you start to convince yourself that that is what life is like and that you are a rock star and that you can just travel around playing music to people, and then you sit down at your desk at your actual job on Monday morning and it hits harder than it ever has. So yeah, it's been pretty grim, and we haven't got another show for ages. Whereas I know you guys had one like the weekend after we came back.
Yeah, that we were quite lucky. Yeah, obviously our last show was the Sunday, and then we did have one on the Saturday, so it was like a nice ease into normality.
Yeah.
So
whereas we haven't got anything until April, so yeah, I am very much feeling the post-tour come down now.
I normally start off the episodes by talking about your kind of earliest experiences, especially in regards to the UK metal scene. So what were your kind of inlays? What are your early memories of how you got into specifically the UK side of things?
I mean, I've been in bands since I was a teenager, but the first one that really kind of took me around the UK and got me meeting people was Siren Lake, which was the band I was in when we first met back in like 2007, I think it was.
Probably something around there,
yeah, and it, you know, we were never massive or super successful or anything, but it gave me the taste for like just getting out there and meeting new people and you know, seeing new places and meeting other bands. I think is a huge thing for me. Like, I know how being in a band makes me feel, but I like talking to other people about their experiences with it and seeing the different kinds of people, and you get all sorts of weird and wonderful folk when you're in bands. And yeah, I don't know. I think I just love people, and being in a band gets me out and speaking to loads of people, which is great because no one else in my band really likes talking. So it's fine for me because I'll just chat to anyone. But yeah, that was my first experience, was like touring around and playing little shitholes and going to Stoke and playing to just the other bands because even the promoter hadn't showed up. And, you know, those kind of shows are quite formative, I think. But, you know, I'm still here, so it can't be that bad.
Like you say, everyone needs to do those shows. It gives you a bit of grounding, I think, to look back at that. And I always say, just with our other guitarist, we're the first band he's ever been in. So, you know, his fifth show ever was like Arctangent.
That's wild.
You know, he's never played the back room of a pub to nobody with, you know, only vocals through a PA and everything sounding like shit. And I hope he never has to, because it means that's what I'd be doing, and I'm enjoying what we are doing at the moment. And I feel like
you've done enough.
I feel like I've done enough of that, to not have to do it anymore. So that's your early experience in terms of you playing in bands. So when you were younger, in those formative teenage years, kind of prior to deciding to do your own band and get into music yourself, what were the UK bands that kind of that were floating around at the time that kind of started getting you into the scene?
Well, I mean, I'm from Corby, so Raging Speedhorn was, you know, a big one. They were really, really heavy, especially compared to anything that I was familiar with at the time. But that little bit of like, oh, this is a hometown band, I should support them, was sort of ingrained in me early on with them. After that, I guess it wasn't really till I went to uni and started going to more, because there was no real scene down where I was from, in Northamptonshire. So there wasn't much to latch onto until I came up to Huddersfield for uni, and then I had, you know, Leeds, Manchester, and Sheffield all within an hour of me. I started going to a lot more shows then, so I started seeing a lot more hardcore bands, like Your Demise and The Legacy and like Gallows when they first started out. And then in Huddersfield, we had Penknife Love Life.
Yeah,
I
of
don't know
course.
if you
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that.
yeah. I forgot they were Huddersfield.
And then, there was just loads, wasn't there? I mean, there still is loads of bands now, but it was definitely more the hardcore side of things, like November Coming Fire and Azrael and bands like that I really latched onto in terms of an underground. Obviously, I was into bigger bands as well, but those were the bands that stick out at me as like the UK underground at the time that I latched onto. And then, from that came playing shows, and my old band Siren Lake, we played shows with like Devil Sold His Soul and Enter Shikari and who else? We Are the Ocean and like all those more sort of post-hardcore bands around that time. So yeah, there was plenty to be getting on with back then.
Obviously, the UK scene is insanely strong at the moment. We luckily experienced it ourselves on tour with the bands that we were playing with, especially every band that played the shows with us a couple of weeks back killed it.
Yeah.
Are there any bands in particular that you're kind of really enjoying at the moment, especially any that maybe might be lesser known to some more casual listeners?
Well, coming off the back of that tour, I was like, first of all, I think I said this on stage every night except in London when I couldn't speak. I said like the caliber of the support bands that we had across that whole run was amazing. Like, thought we would at least have one stinker or one like slightly amateurish teenage band that hadn't quite figured it out yet or whatever. But no, it was great. So off the back of that, the two that really stuck out to me was Fort, who played with us in Cardiff. Really great post-rock band, loads of energy. Bass player was like 8 feet tall and the ceiling was only 7 feet tall. So he was like bent in half doing his thing, but he was still having a great time. They were fantastic. And then Still in Love, who supported in London. It was their second show. And I know that they had members of bands who've had success in the past, but regardless of that, like for a second show for any band, for them to kill it to that degree, as you well know, like that sort of dark, moody hardcore, that like Modern Life is War, Blacklisted kind of stuff is my bread and butter. So yeah, I was more than happy to have them on the bill. So yeah, I thought I'd shout those two out while we're doing this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anything kind of HopeCon related is just kind of put it straight in my basket.
Give me
Yeah,
it.
sign me up. As you said before, in your position in Huddersfield, you're quite lucky in terms of location to Sheffield, Leeds, Manchester. A lot of great little independent venues up your way, especially places like Boom. I know in Sheffield more recently, I've seen shows at a venue, Sydney Matilda, is it called? Is that a new venue that I've noticed popping up?
Yeah, it's very cool actually. It's a really just like very DIY, a bit hipstery, but in a good way kind of space. And yeah, we had a really good experience there.
Great. And then obviously in Huddersfield, you've got the parish, which is I think a second incarnation now. Is that right? In a different location?
Yeah, Parish 2.0. During COVID, they shut the original location. Can't remember exactly what happened. Something to do with the landlord just trying to take the piss while everyone was struggling. So they moved to the old courthouse in Huddersfield, which is like 3 stories. Used to be a nightclub when I was at uni. So it's just an upgrade in every single way, really. Like there's a dive bar down in the basement where they have like smaller bands on, and then there's a 350 cap room upstairs where they have the bigger bands, and then in the middle is like the pub restaurant area. Food's amazing, vibes are always immaculate. Considering there's not much else in Huddersfield, we're very, very lucky to have somewhere like the parish. Obviously, the band itself is based in Sheffield, and yeah, we've got some pretty good places in Sheff as well. Sydney and Matilda's great. Corp's pretty great. Corp's obviously been a mainstay of Sheffield forever.
For sure, yeah.
There's been a couple of other places we've played in Sheffield over the years, but those would be the ones I'd be most likely to want to go back to.
And having a venue like the parish in a town like Huddersfield, especially I've noticed, you see bands that you like going on tour, announcing shows, you kind of see consistently like more shows being put on at like the parish. They seem to be getting more bands over the years sort of thing. I remember when they first started posting a while back and you were quite stoked they've managed to get like Every Time I Die playing there and bands like that. I know that was in the earlier version of the parish, but have you noticed a noticeable rise in popularity for like the UK metal scene with having a venue consistently putting on kind of high caliber shows in a smaller town?
I think once people know about somewhere like the parish, and I assume there's similar places kind of dotted around the lesser, the B towns,
Mm.
if you like, in the UK. But I think to say a band coming from America, they're not going to have heard of Huddersfield, but they'll have heard of Leeds, or they'll have heard of Manchester. So when the booking agent is saying, "Oh, we've got this place, the parish, they've offered a show, it's in Huddersfield, which is near Leeds," I wouldn't blame bands for going, "Oh, well, why don't we just do Leeds then?"
Mm.
But I think word has got around with the parish a little bit. I know that after Mikey, the promoter there, after he booked Every Time I Die and Cancer Bats and the Bronx, within sort of a year or so, word got around with other bands, and I think he booked Terror off the back of being able to say, "Look at the pictures, look at the videos from these shows. This venue's wonderful. You want to play here," and that has sort of continued. Like I saw just a few days ago, I saw Crowbar at the parish, and it was amazing. Like it was on my doorstep in a town that, like I say, that most people outside of West Yorkshire would never have ever thought about it if they've heard of it. So yeah, it's a pretty magical place. I recommend any band, big or small, to do a show there. Because if you are a bit smaller and you don't think you can pull 350 people, play in the basement. It'll feel packed if there's 40 in. It's great.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think one thing that's helped with, like you say, bands like Crowbar playing the parish and things like that is there seems to have been a bit more of a trend recently in bands that you would class as bigger bands, bands like Crowbar. I know Carcass maybe last year did it, where rather than kind of going out and doing 4 or 5 shows at 500, 600 cap or whatever venues, there's been a bit
Mm.
more of a trend recently for bands doing much longer tours in smaller venues. Like, we're talking two,
Yeah.
3 week full UK tours going to everywhere, like you say, B towns, main cities. And yeah, it seems to have been something that's flipped recently in more times. Like, that was something that bands seem to go away from. All you ever used to get on forums was, oh, why not insert city here? Like, why aren't you playing? It always used to get the worst. It's like, oh, someone announced a show in Leeds. Like, why aren't you playing Manchester? It's like,
Mm.
God, it's an hour on the train.
That's the thing that's always really bothered me about like this country, because first of all, I understand that people have limited means and people have different amounts of surplus income and energy and everything else from each other, and that no two people are the same in that respect. But this country is so small. If a band is doing 4 shows in the UK, chances are there's one you can get to in less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
And, considering that when bands tour America, people have to travel days sometimes to get out of their state to go to somewhere that's being played, I don't think we realize how lucky we are that it is quite easy to get around the UK if you drive. Obviously, public transport's a nightmare. If you make the effort for these bands, they'll keep coming. And they are more likely to come to your town if the neighbouring towns have shown them a good time and shown them that market or whatever has a good scene and is willing to put the effort in for bands.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you can, you should be getting to these shows. Like I go to shows in Huddersfield of bands that I could take or leave.
Yeah.
But it's on my doorstep. And if I support that show, then the venue can keep booking bands, and the next thing they book might be something that I'm more interested in, which I promise is how I ended up seeing Crazy Town, and that wasn't on purpose at all.
Did you see Crazy Town at their Pomp in 2002, or did you see them more recently?
No, I saw Crazy Town very tragically in 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they looked like they were having the best time until they had to play Butterfly, and then they looked like the 5 most miserable cunts on the planet.
It always blows my mind when someone has so much hatred for the thing that kind of got them in that position. I mean, it's hard to understand, I've never had a hit will ever be anywhere near probably as popular as that song was and still is now, had that one big massive hit that just everyone wants to hear. It always reminds me of that, I don't know if you used to watch Big Train, but there's a sketch on Big Train where a guy was playing in a pub and he plays his hit song and then he starts playing another one and they're all just shouting for the song again. And he's like, I just played that. And they're just like, Streets of London, Streets of London. And it just always reminds me of that. And it's that whole, like, I guess it's a position I'd like to be in the fact that I've got a song out there that's had 50 million plays and, you could play it anywhere and people know what it is. But then I guess also, if you want to be taken seriously as a musician and people are just like, yeah, that's the only good song you've ever done, it must shit on everything else that you've tried to do.
I think being a one-hit wonder, apart from the money, would be quite downheartening as a musician, because you're just always chasing that high again and it'll probably never come. But yeah, they didn't look thrilled to have to play that admittedly dreadful song.
Bless them. They were weird times. It wasn't that hard to get, but if you think of some of the songs that the one-hit wonders of that time, it's crazy that they even became hits. But they did, and we still have them on our playlist now. So
I saw a tour get announced the other day that was Soil, supported by Head PE and the Union Underground.
I saw that. There was someone else as well, and I can't remember who the fourth band was.
It was... No, it's gone. It's gone.
It was someone in that same sphere, 100%.
It was another one of those bands from like the early noughties who the almost rans of the early noughties, like, and I just like, and they were playing pretty big venues, and maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's bitterness, but it's so frustrating to see those bands still be able to pack out decent sized rooms to enthusiastic ticket buying crowds when they only had one successful song anyway, and it was 25 years ago. Like, is quite enraging. Like, do people really want to hear Halo, Bartender, and Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman that much that they're willing to pay 25 quid for a ticket to hear those three songs and then spend the rest of the time going, oh, what's this? I don't know this one.
Yeah.
It baffles
just
me.
pay £5 to get into any UK kind of metal club on a Friday night, and you're going to hear those.
You'll hear those three songs within the first half hour.
100%. Are there any cool shows coming up that you're particularly looking forward to outside of Hidden Mothers? So in terms of that you're attending?
Tomorrow night, I'm going to see Napalm Death, supported by Pig Destroyer, Primitive Man, and Wormrot.
Don't get much better than that, does it?
That's the wildest fucking lineup.
It's absolutely insane. Like,
I don't even really know where to start thinking about how I might prepare myself physically and emotionally for the battering I'm going to get tomorrow night between the hours of 7 and 11. It's going to be savage.
You are going to feel assaulted, I think.
Yeah, in every possible way. Like, Wormrot will spin me around really fast, and then Primitive Man will bludgeon me really slowly, and then I'll get a nice combination of both from the two headliners. It's going to be mental. Apart from that, what else is coming up? I'm going next Saturday to see Throws and Helpless.
Oh, yeah, nice. I was hoping to get to that in Bristol, hopefully. Yeah,
that'll be wicked. Throws have never been over here before, I don't think. So it's exciting to see them. And Helpless are obviously other Church Road band, and they're always great. So yeah, that'll be wicked. I think that's it for a bit, though. I haven't got too much coming up at the minute.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Church Road there. Obviously, you announced a couple of weeks back that you've signed with Church Road. Joined us on our little band of merry men and women on the arguably the greatest UK record label at the moment. They're fucking great people, and they have a great ear, and they sign great bands. So yeah, you must be pretty stoked to do that and to get the album out. Was it later this year?
Yeah, we haven't 100% settled on a date yet, but the last sort of 3 or 4 months of the year is likely, September, October time, I think is what we're aiming for. The album's done, it's about to be sent off to be mastered. We got the artwork back the other day. That looks amazing. So yeah, it's all coming together. But to be on Church Road is really, when we started the band, we were like, wouldn't it be funny if we got on Arctangent? And wouldn't it be funny if we got signed to, well, it was Holy Roar at the time, but, wouldn't it be funny if we got signed to Church Road? And for those two things to have both now happened, it's pretty exciting. I just don't know what we do next. like what? Is it all downhill from here? Or?
Yeah, that's the thing. When you reach the things, we were exactly the same as you. That was the exact two things for us. We'd love to play Arctangent and we'd love to sign to Church. And, we managed to have our chat with Church last January, and within 3 days of chatting to them, we also got an offer for Arctangent, and we were like, I'll say, shoot me in the head now, shoot me in the head in August once the record's out and I've played Arctangent, and I'll die with a smile on my face. But yeah, it's nice, but there's nothing stopping you pushing yourself.
No, and I think that it's natural when you're on a label like Church Road that has such a huge influence on people that the profile of your band will grow just off the back of that, even if they don't actively do anything, which I know they will. but just being associated with them is a huge push for us. And we've seen it already in terms of, more people engaging with us on social media and stuff. So I just can't wait to actually have some new music to show those people, because it's been 4 years or almost 4 years since we put anything out. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so obviously you talked about the length of time there it took to put out the follow-up to the EP. That has become almost a little bit of a running joke in some of the forums online and stuff over the years. The Damnation and the Art Tangent forums and things like that. Did it bother you that it became a bit of a joke, and was there any particular reason why it took a while to get that follow-up out?
No, we leaned into the joke a little bit, to be honest. I mean, we made that Peep Show t-shirt 4 years for a debut album. That's insane.
It's perfect.
Which flew out. I wish we'd printed twice as many. But no, I mean, there was no one thing that stopped us. COVID really put a stop to us writing for a while. Lots of bands can write remotely and record remotely, and we are not one of those bands. We have to be in the room together or it just doesn't happen. So that put a spanner in the works, and then it just took us a while to get going again, more than anything. And as you know, we had a lineup change recently, and the build up to that, we weren't super productive because we weren't sure what was happening. And but we got there in the end. The album is finished. We are super happy with it. It's, the proudest I've ever been of anything I've been involved with musically. And yeah, it's happening now. So it'll be out this year. And I can say that and know that it is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
It was funny. We were in a Metal Hammer's most anticipated albums of 2023 article at the end of 2022 because I was just like, well, there's no way that it'll take that long. But it did. So sorry, Matt Mills, and thank you for putting us in there. But it's taken a little bit longer than we thought.
The thing is, you get that classic thing then, though. I mean, even if your album was ready in February or March, like you say, with schedules and labels and release schedules and things like that, there's still not a guarantee it's going to be out. I think I remember Ed and Johnny from Devil saying that when they wrote Blessed and Cursed, I think that was ready for over 12 months before, from that being totally a finished package before it actually got released. And like it's insane, because then, you come to start playing shows and it's like, these are new songs to the crowd, but they're old songs to us now. We're kind of ready to start moving on with the next thing. It's hard.
The thing. You've probably written something else in the meantime and you want to be playing that, but you can't because you've got to get the album songs out to people in the live environment. But, it's just great that it is finally happening more than anything else.
Yeah, 100%. And for anyone, just to let you know, I've been lucky enough to hear some of that. Obviously, we heard songs on tour, but I've been lucky enough to hear some of the, albeit before they were mastered, recordings, and you are in for a treat. It's been worth the wait.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, wait those extra few months, and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, if people have waited 4 years, they can wait an extra couple of months.
Yeah. Right, it's come to the time now where we put our comfy pants on, Liam, and we get down to business. It's the reason we're all here. It's our unique feature. It's time for
Amazing.
So, I mean, if I'm going to make jingles, why not rip off, Dillinger Escape Plan or somebody, or early Norma Jean, right? I mean...
Can I just say, you've taken this podcast more seriously than I can than I take my own band, my actual music that we have to make. And it's been really lovely seeing it, take shape from, I think, one stupid tweet.
Oh, yeah.
A week and a half ago, to now us being sat here and you've got full-on jingles.
Oh, yeah, it's been stupid. I mean, I'd be lying if I wasn't massively procrastinating from writing Cop's album material. It's given me a nice little outlet.
It's more important.
The thing is, it's very different writing a 2-bar stupid transition jingle like that than it is writing a fucking 17.5-minute God knows what.
No one's making you write 17-minute songs.
You say that, but our other guitarist is. So you can blame him. Anyway, that's aside. So, Chippy Chat, this is what we're here for.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with tell me, what local chippy are you taking me to?
So there's two. There's one that's around the corner from my house, whose name I genuinely do not know. It's just the Chippy, and it's 30 seconds away. And it's bang average, honestly. But it's 30 seconds away from my house.
Yeah.
There is another one in Huddersfield called Mother Hubbard's, which is fantastic, but it's a bit more out of the way. So it really depends on how lazy I'm feeling as to where you're going.
Yeah, I'm all for, having that as local. I have a situation here where we've got two pretty good ones locally. One's definitely a much closer walk than the others. And again, it's always the closest one, which is the one that's not as good. It's always the fucking
Yeah.
way. Now, no one's lucky enough to have the amazing one at the end of their street. I used to live much closer to the other one, and then weirdly, I only moved from one end of a street to the other, but it put me closer to the now more average
The
one.
less good chippy.
Yeah. So I do get that, and laziness does come into it sometimes. But
Yeah.
So how often would you say you decide to treat yourself and visit the superior chippy?
We went through a phase of going pretty regularly, but it's probably been a couple of months now, I think, since we've had a chippy tea, which is outrageous, really.
Mm.
It's my partner's favorite kind of takeaway. So if it was up to her, we'd have a chippy tea absolutely every time that we want to order out for food. But I'm partial to a kebab and I'm partial to a pizza, so the chippy doesn't always get a look in.
It doesn't sound like a very fair argument there. If it's been months and months, I think you need to let your partner.
Well, the thing is, I know exactly what's going to happen is that we're going to have a conversation right now about the chippy, and then I'm just going to be thinking about the chippy constantly. So I think this weekend we're probably going to go to the chippy.
Yeah,
Because
super.
of this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be rude not to. So, I've come up for a special occasion. So, are we going to Mother Hubbard's?
We're at the nice one, yeah. I'll take you the nice.
So we're going to Mother Hubbard's. So obviously you're having chips.
Yeah.
What size portion of chips you getting?
Large, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah. Like, it's not like I'm gonna leave any.
No, exactly.
But I'd rather have too many than not enough.
Exactly.
So large.
You can always heat them up later, can't you? Have a few more.
I probably won't because they'll all get F. But the thought is there.
What do you go to main kind of accompaniment with your chips?
So I'm a sausage man.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Not battered. No, because I feel like it's really hard to get right. Like a really good battered sausage is amazing, but a bad sausage is fucking awful.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd just rather not take the risk. So I'd normally go a couple of big sausages,
couple of jumbos,
and a big old portion of chips, and maybe some bread and butter will sort me right out.
Yeah. Jumbo chippy sausages, or even normal sized chippy sausages, they're one of those things where I'm sure not many chippies make their own sausages. I'm sure you get them from some chippy cash and carry somewhere, which I need the keys to. But like, I don't know, it might just be Costco and I might just be missing out and I've not really been looking into it. But chippy sausage is one of those things like you can get a sausage anywhere else in any pub, restaurant, supermarket by your own, and like you'll never get a sausage that tastes like a chippy sausage. Like you can only get chippy sausages at Chippies. It's like how chippy vinegar always tastes different to vinegar you buy from the shops.
Same with chippy chips as well, to be honest. I feel like it's something that anywhere that doesn't have that exact frying setup just can't recreate.
No.
It's a unique and perfect experience, is the chippy.
Is your chippy a wrapping paper chippy or a put it in a box chippy?
Mother Hubbard's is a box one, and the bang average one around the corner is a wrapping paper one.
So do they make up for maybe they're lacking quality by chucking a few extra scoops in? Because normally the paper ones they're paper because they don't fit in a box. It's
the paper ones. I always feel like they're eyeballing it, whereas the box ones I always feel like it's you getting a set amount of chips.
Yeah.
Everybody getting the same.
That box is closing. Like
no, I want it to have heft, which is why I quite often go to the bang average one around the corner.
I totally get that. So salt and vinegar. Yeah. Are you a man that has any sort of specifics when asking for his salt and vinegar, or when they asked you, chuck it on?
I trust the people to do their thing. It's their craft. Much as I would not expect them to tell me how to play the bass and scream at people, I would not tell them how to salt and vinegar the chips. They know what they're doing.
Leave it to the experts. And
exactly.
What about moisture? Do you get anything for? Are you a dipper? Are you a pourer?
Yeah, I'm a curry sauce guy.
Yep, nice.
Yeah, sausage chips, curry sauce, and like a bread roll to shove some chips in, and then dip that in the curry sauce. Yeah, that is like sometimes I'll change it up and get like a fish butty or a pie or something, but 9 times out of 10, that's what my plate looks like. Just a pile of chips covered in that baby sick Chinese chip shop curry, whatever it is, and then a couple of sausages whacked on top of it. Job done.
Perfect. Amazing. And tin of pop. What tin of pop do you get?
I like a Ben Shaw's shandy.
Oh, Ben Shaw's is good pop.
Ben Shaw's specifically, or a cloudy lemonade. Either one of those will do. If the Ben Shaw's isn't available, an iron brew. And that is, again, something that comes from my Corby upbringing. I was about to say my Scottish heritage. I haven't got any Scottish heritage, but everyone else in Corby has, so it rubs up on you a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's called Little Scotland, and there's more Scottish people in Corby than there is anywhere else outside of Scotland itself.
Like that Welsh community in Patagonia. You know about
sure.
That? Yeah. No, so I think it was something to do with a load of miners or something that went.
Right. It kind of is a bit like that. Basically, like loads of people came down to Corby from Scotland for the steel industry in like the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
And then obviously settled there, had families, and I'm literally the only person I know from Corby that doesn't have any Scottish family at all. So yeah, Iron Brew, very important.
Yeah, no, again, great drink, good choices all round. So if you're going to a chippy, say if you're ordering a fish that you've got to wait for 5-10 minutes, do you ever order anything to eat while you wait?
See, I knew you were going to ask this, obviously, because you sent me a bit of like, these are the things that we're going to talk about. And I'm a fat bastard, right? I fucking love my food. I eat to excess far more often than I should. And I love just being full as fuck and having shitloads of food. But never once in my life have I ever thought, oh, this meal is going to take 5 minutes to be ready. I'd better order something while I wait. Like that's psychotic. And I feel like I really wanted to have this conversation with you, because if you do that, I think you need to maybe have a word with yourself.
Let me put it to you in a different situation. You and your lovely partner, you say it's an anniversary, a nice special occasion. You go out to a nice little restaurant. They come for the menus. They say, "Oh, can I get you a drink?" Like, "Oh, can we get you some olives and some bread to start?" You'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure, that sounds lovely." Whilst you're waiting for your main. So why not, if you're in the chippy, they're like, "Oh, it's going to be 5-10 minutes for the fish while we cook it fresh. Is that all right, love?" You're like, "Oh yeah, I tell you what, I'll just have a little fish cake or a little sausage while I'm waiting, please."
I mean, I've just never thought about it. Not once.
You will now.
Well, fucking will now. But when I've been stood in the queue for the chippy, doing that typical thing where you stand with your neck craned upwards towards the signs, trying to figure out what you're going to have, as if you're not going to have the same thing you always have. No, never once have I thought I need to introduce a restaurant structure to this meal, and I need a starter and a main and a pudding. Ever.
I guess it depends. Like, so if you're going for a sausage, I guess a lot of the time they're the sort of things that are quite often ready in the counter. They start getting low, they put more in. It's only normally things like fish or maybe pies potentially that you might have to wait for them to sort fresh. So I guess it depends what you're ordering.
Lynn's has fish every time, no matter what. She never ever changes her order. So I do have to wait for fish, despite me not wanting fish myself. And yeah, it's gonna happen now. I just know it. I'm gonna be like, I think Phil might be onto something. I might just have a little scallop or something while I'm waiting.
That's the exact sort of perfect thing. Like I say, a little scallop or a fish cake or a little small sausage. I'm not saying, oh yeah, give us a small chips, pudding peas and gravy to eat while I'm waiting. But
I'll have that done, right?
Yeah, just a little
little aperitif.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little hors d'oeuvre.
Maybe you're onto something, but the last thing I need to do is add more calories to this already quite unhealthy meal.
Well, you said, but yeah, it's definitely going to be in your mind next time you go, and it sounds like you're going this weekend, so
it does. Yeah,
I expect you to report back.
I will.
Now, before we close our chat today, we like to give people that come on the opportunity to plug anything, push anything that they've got coming up in their own band's life. So this is a little section that we like to call Apparently you're allowed 15 seconds of other people's music before you get sued. According to someone I know. 11. Smart, yeah. Obviously I recorded it myself, but I assume that doesn't make any difference.
No, I don't think Steph Carpenter is coming for you for using that little My Own Summer lick to talk about tips.
Too busy flat earthing.
Exactly. What's he going to do? Walk all the way across the flat earth to come and get you? I don't think so. Well, anyway, what do I want to plug? My flat earth conspiracy theories. No, we've got a show coming up, as you well know, because you're playing it.
I am, yeah.
So we are doing our first hometown show of 2024 at Corporation in Sheffield on the 27th of April. It's a big deal for us because, as you know, we had the lineup change last year, and Sheffield has always been, it is our home, and it's always been very good to us in terms of the crowd and, people supporting us. And, we had a great last show for Steph, who left in November at Sydney and Matilda that we talked about earlier. So now we're starting this new chapter of the band, and it was really important to us to get back into Sheffield and, have a definitive headline show that we can start from and move forward from. So yeah, that Corporation show should be pretty wild. Supported by obviously your good selves and a band called Mouths, which is a band that have only played one show before this one, but they've got members in from Dead Cosmonauts, who are a great Sheffield band, and Nycian, who are also another great Sheffield band, and also apparently someone who used to be in Maximo Park.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty mental and not very metal at all. But yeah, it should be a great show. They're a great band. You're a great band. We're a great band. It's a wonderful venue. It's a Saturday night. Maybe we'll go do some karaoke after. Yeah, it should be a good time. So there are still tickets available for that. If you're anywhere near Sheffield, or you can get to Sheffield on the 27th of April, please come and see that show.
Any other shows booked? Anything that you can, or is there anything that you can't say about just yet that's going to be coming soon? Or
so we played in London with you guys a couple of weeks ago. We've got another London show booked that we've had booked for ages, but we weren't allowed to announce until after the London show a couple of weeks ago. As of yet, it still hasn't been announced, so I'd better keep quiet about it. But we are coming back to London in May. That's all I'll say for now. And then in July, we've got... before that, actually, we've just confirmed a pretty big lead show for April, which is a band I've wanted to play with a band that I've wanted to play with for a long time. So hopefully that'll be announced soon. And then in July, we're doing Mangata Festival in Nottingham with Burner and Pine and Boss Keloid and Mountain Caller and just loads of wonderful bands. And then we're doing Arctangent again in August on the Wednesday with LLNN and Bosk, Dinner Celestial Birds. It's the best festival. There's loads of great bands playing it. Loads of I thought last year was a mates fest, but this year is pretty wild in terms of our friends' bands playing it. 100-Year-Old Man are making their Arctangent debut, which is mental that they haven't done it before.
Absolutely insane. Honestly, they should have been there years ago. They're one of the best bands 100%. Doing it. And yeah,
same with Underdark as well. The fact that they haven't done it before is mental. Our friends in Pleiades are doing Arctangent as well this year, which is wonderful for them. So yeah, we haven't got loads booked at the minute, but all the stuff we've got booked is really good.
Nice.
And more than anything, I think we'll probably keep it that way, keep it quality over quantity until the album's out. And then obviously we'll want to play as many places as possible. So expect to see a lot of us towards the end of the year and definitely into next year.
Okay, well, I, for one, always enjoy seeing a lot of you, Liam.
I bet you do.
Thanks so much for coming on the pod. It's been a pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you for being the guest of episode number 1.
Shit.
Yeah. You are the first one. You're going to be my launch, my pilot. I'm gonna buy a bottle of champagne and smash it against you as I like
other shit.
Yeah. As we launch into the sea. But yeah, so I'll be seeing you next month up in Sheffield, face to face for a hug. And until then, take care of yourself, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks for having me, bud. Always a pleasure.
So that was Liam from Hidden Mothers. He took me to Mother Hubbard's in Huddersfield and ordered a large bag of chips with salt and vinegar, a couple of jumbo sausages and some curry sauce, all washed down with a lovely tin of Ben Shaw's shandy. As always, I want to see your chippy teas too, so don't forget to tag us in any pics or let us know your favourite local chippy on socials using @RiffandChips. Thanks to Rob Collier for providing the dive bomb, Edgar Gibbs for the screams, and Ryan Westwood for the artwork. See you in 2 weeks for our next episode.